Good evening, you're watching AWANI Tonight with me, Farhana Sheikh. Authorities will beef up operational security at all police facilities nationwide following an attack on a police station in Johor Bahru that killed 2 policemen and injured a third. Inspector General of Police Tan Sri Razaruddin Hussein said the increased security measures also apply to all the state royal palaces and Menteri Besar residences. According to police, the suspect who attacked the Ulu Tiram police station around 2:45 a.m. was a 21-year-old man linked to terror group Jemaah Islamiyah, JI, a group that has been linked to the 2002 Bali bombings in Indonesia. Razaruddin said police are going after JI's remaining 20 members in Johor. 2 young constables, Ahmad Azhar Fahmi Azhar and Muhammad Shafiq Ahmad Said, were killed by the sole attacker. Razaruddin said the 2 constables joined the police force in 2021 and 2022 respectively. A third policeman on duty was seriously injured but managed to take down the attacker. Police have so far arrested 7 people, including the attacker's father and 4 of his family members, for being linked to JI. The attack is being investigated under Section 302 of the Penal Code for murder. Bank Negara Malaysia has maintained its forecast for the economy to grow at 4 to 5% this year. This is due to the encouraging first quarter of 2024 growth of 4.2%.
BNM Governor Datuk Abdul Rashid Ghaffur said the forecast was based on greater spillover from the tech-up cycle, tourist arrivals and swifter implementation of new and existing investment projects. However, the growth may face downside risks of weaker than expected external demand, escalation of geopolitical conflicts, and a larger decline in commodity production, he said at the Gross Domestic Product first quarter of 2024 press conference today. Abdul Rashid said the pressure on the local currency has reduced since the central bank engaged with government-linked companies, government-linked investment companies, corporations and investors to encourage them to repatriate their foreign earnings since the end of February, and this has given positive outcomes. Asked about the impact of possible subsidy rationalisation for diesel and RON 95, the governor said that for the short term, it may have some impact in terms of consumption and investments, but this could be mitigated by cash transfer or income transfer from the government for those in need. However, he said that this important matter should be announced by the government, not only on how to do it, but also in terms of the finances and the sequencing. On the civil servants' salary adjustment in December, he said that based on experience, the adjustment should not hugely impact the inflation rate. Abdul Rashid also said that the impact of the newly introduced Employees Provident Fund Account 3 withdrawals would also be minimal towards the inflation rate.
Meanwhile, members of the Employees Provident Fund, EPF, can soon make a recurring request to transfer the funds from account 3 or flexible account to the 2 other accounts. EPF Head of Policy and Strategy Department, Balkis Yusof, says the option will be available as early as next month. Beginning June, members can specifically choose whether they want the contributions that are meant for account 3 to be moved to account 1, account Persaraan, or account 2, account Sejahtera. Additionally, members will also have the choice to split and transfer the money to both accounts. Balkis also said the option to make a recurring transfer will be accessible online. EPF previously stated that members can transfer their account 3 savings to account 1 and account 2. However, the transfer only takes place in one direction, as members can't transfer those funds back to account 3 once completed, and can also only be done at physical EPF offices. The new option that will be introduced soon should make inter-account transfer more convenient. Earlier this month, EPF implemented a new account structure that includes the introduction of account 3, which members can access at any time. Discussions over the proposed Kuala Lumpur-Singapore high-speed rail HSR project with the Singapore government will only take place after obtaining cabinet approval, says Anthony Loh. The Transport Minister says the ministry is waiting to present the matter to Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim first for his approval before tabling the matter in cabinet. Loh said there has been ongoing discussion with Singapore Transport Minister Chee Hong Tat on various matters, including the HSR, but nothing has been formalised. Earlier this year, it was reported that 7 local and international consortia, comprising 31 firms, have submitted their concept proposal for the HSR project. The HSR project was first proposed in 2013, but was then terminated in 2021 after both countries failed to reach an agreement, with Malaysia paying 320 million ringgit in compensation to Singapore. The 350-kilometre railway line, which was originally expected to be completed by 2026, would have reduced the travel time between both destinations to 90 minutes. Singapore's fourth Prime Minister, Lawrence Wong, was sworn in on Wednesday, marking the third handover of leadership in the country's 59-year history. Ringing in this new era of leadership, Associate Professor of Law from Singapore Management University, Eugene Tan, shares what to expect from the new administration.
After he was sworn into office, made it very clear at the start, that his leadership style, as well as that of his team, will be different. And I think it has to, right? Because we're looking at, the majority of Singaporeans now born post-independence. So in many ways, the earlier generation of leaders, when they talk about the third world to first world narrative, that no longer resonates well, or if at all, with the millennial generation as well as the Gen Z. And even for the older generation, that there is the view that, yes, we are now, first world, or we now have progressed significantly. But what are our prospects, for better days ahead? And so the question of how, Prime Minister Lawrence Wong manages these aspirations will also be as important as how he deals with hot button issues, such as cost of living, concerns over immigration, public housing affordability and accessibility, job insecurity. So he does have his plate full, and with the current term of Parliament having, something about 15 months left to their term, time is of the essence in terms of, Prime Minister Wong demonstrating, right, that he and his team, that they are equal to the task of keeping Singapore successful and prosperous.
Following a smooth and well-organised leadership transition, Eugene highlighted potential challenges for the ruling party to maintain its dominance while catering to Singaporeans' aspirations for change.
Singaporeans want a lot more competition and political diversity, but I think at the same time, the ruling party, having been in power for 65 years, would also want to demonstrate that one-party dominance is still relevant, that there are still adequate checks and balances, and that there are benefits, to a party, that is organized, that is disciplined, that is honest, that there are benefits, to the party remaining in power because of the ability to plan, for the future. So it will be that challenge, right? To demonstrate that one party dominance is still relevant, if at all, and also demonstrate that the pace of political change should be progressing at an incremental rate.
We'll go for a quick break. Don't go anywhere.
Khazanah kita kini di pentas dunia. Malaysia menjadi gelanggang cabaran terbesar. Berdiri teguh bersama wira negara. Ini masa kita. Istaf Sepak Takraw World Cup Kuala Lumpur 2024 secara langsung di Astro Arena dan Astro Go.
Welcome back. Hundreds of people living near an erupting volcano in eastern Indonesia have been evacuated after authorities raised its alert status to the highest level. Mount Ibu erupted again on Friday morning, the second day in a row, spewing a tower of volcanic ash 5,000 meters into the sky.
Residents in 7 villages near Ibu began evacuating to several shelters late on Thursday, after authorities raised the alert status. They said the evacuation was a preventive measure as residents were living around 7 kilometers from the volcano. They advised residents and tourists to stay out of the 4 to 7 kilometer exclusion zone and to wear a face mask in case of falling ash. Ibu is one of Indonesia's most active volcanoes, erupting more than 21,000 times last year. The active volcano has erupted repeatedly since May 11th after activity increased during April. Indonesia experiences frequent seismic and volcanic activity due to its position on the Pacific Ring of Fire, which consists of 127 active volcanoes. Last month, Mount Ruang in North Sulawesi province erupted more than half a dozen times, forcing thousands of residents of nearby islands to evacuate.
Meanwhile, French police have shot dead an armed man who tried to set fire to a synagogue. The attacker was armed with a knife and an iron bar, but his identity and motive are still unclear.
Police were alerted at 6:45 a.m. local time after smoke was seen rising from the synagogue. The suspect charged at police as they arrived on the scene before an officer opened fire, killing him. Firefighters eventually brought the fire in the synagogue under control. 2 investigations are underway, one into the arson attack on a place of worship and another into the death of the man outside the building. France is due to host the Summer Olympics in 2 months, but tensions and anger have grown over the conflict in Gaza.
In other news, violence erupted in Taiwan's parliament today in a dispute over reforms in the chamber. It comes just days before President-elect Lai Ching-te is due to take office without a legislative majority. Lawmakers were seen shoving, tackling and hitting each other outside the legislative chamber, with some even dragging colleagues to the floor. Lai won the election in January, but his Democratic Progressive Party DPP lost its majority in parliament. The opposition parties, Kuomintang and Taiwan's People Party, had worked together to secure more seats in the legislature. The clashes raised the prospect of more turmoil and parliamentary conflict for Lai's new government after he is inaugurated next Monday. Over in the U.S., at least 4 people have died after torrential rains and hurricane-force winds swept through southeast Texas. Nearly 1 million homes and businesses in Houston remain without power.
2 deaths came from fallen trees and 1 from a crane blown over. Severe storms hit parts of Texas on Thursday before moving on to neighboring Louisiana, where flood warnings were issued for the Gulf Coast. In Houston, skyscraper windows were blown out and glass littered the city's streets. Residents were warned to stay indoors and the city schools were closed.
That wraps up AWANI tonight. I'm Farhana Sheikh. Thank you for watching.